tell me how the book came to be.
Well, in 2008, Philadelphia Magazine asked me to do a piece on how Merion got the Open, because it was just so ridiculous that Merion would have the Open after all that had proceeded. I wrote the piece, and at which point I had lunch with a Merion member named Bill Iredale, who was chairman of the championship committee, and somebody that I dealt with regularly in my reporting on the piece. We hadn't met before, just talked on the phone. So we decided to meet, have lunch, and we chatted. Merion had previously done a book in 1988, Merion, A Golf at Merion by Desmond Tolhurst, which was redone in 2005 quickly to have something to sell at the U.S. Amateur. But what wasn't there was the incredible story of how Merion got the Open. There was no way, given what Merion was like in 1989 and 1990 and 1991 after the 1989 U.S. Amateur, there was just little chance that Merion, which was far too small anyway in those days and in not great shape in those days, would have an Open. But amazing things happened and an Open came. So Bill and I talked about the idea of doing a book, redoing the Merion history, because there were some updates in it. And talked about it. It took a couple of years to actually get it off the ground, but that's essentially how it came to be.
The finished product has the Merion logo on it, and it weighs about as much as a fat newborn baby.
Correct. Bigger than I was, actually.
Really?
I was only 5 pounds.
And this book is what?
6.
The book you ended up writing is not the book you set out to write or that you thought you were getting yourself into. Tell me about that evolution.
Not even close. I mean, what we were going to do was an update of the Merion history, being a basic club history with some frills, because part of Merion's club history is so tied to Bobby Jones and Ben Hogan and the championship story. I mean, no club has had more championships. So I started going into the history stories of the events themselves, and there was so much amazing information that hadn't been around when the last guys did it. I mean, it had been around, but it's so much easier to search for this stuff now. And I just found incredible stuff going all the way back to the creation of the course in 1896, the creation of the original course in Haverford, that I started to see this is really a championship story with stories about the membership and the club, rather than a story about the club that has a little bit of a section of the championships. And I spoke to the club about it and said, listen, this thing is going to get to be a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be, and a different direction than we thought it would be. It'll still have a lot of the same elements. We're still going to tell the story of how it got the Open. We'll still go back and look at how the East Course was created. And we'll still look at the championship stories themselves. But these stories are now much more interesting and much bigger than I thought they would be, and they fully agree. The highlight of the Open to me was how Matt Schaefer, the superintendent of the golf course, had this course so ready that whatever nature threw at it, it could withstand. I mean, I have pictures in the book of the 11th hole as an island green. I mean, water up to the putting surface, from Baffling Brook. That Schaefer had figured out ways beforehand to be able to get the course ready to withstand the awfulness of June weather. That to me was the heroic moment of the book. There are a couple of moments along the way that the best way to talk about them is to show them, not tell about them. One is the accomplishments of Merion's women. From the beginning of the GAP Team Championships annual play, I got to tell you, the Celtics and the Yankees have nothing at them as a dynasty. So I decided to really put this in a way that people could see it. These are the plaques that they have won. These hang up in the club, but it's 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages. They've won 60-something championships. All of them are here. And I thought that was an effective way of telling their story. This is the most famous image of golf. This is Hy Peskin's great photograph of Ben Hogan approaching the 72nd green, 18th hole, obviously, at Merion. He's played 35 and a half holes by the time he's done this on legs that really couldn't stand up to it. Everybody remembers this shot. What they don't remember is where it landed. They think this was the great shot that somehow won the championship. Well, not only did it not win the championship, Hogan needed to two-putt from 40 feet to tie. He just got onto the front of the green, and he had 40 feet to the middle back right of the green here. Hogan was kind of front left, and of course he blew his first one by 4.5 feet, and made the second one coming back. But
which is still a common final round pin position.
Correct.
Or hole location.
Correct. Often it's here, though for the Open this year, the position was more on the right side of the green. The one thing Hogan knew was he couldn't be beyond it. He couldn't be beyond the green because the chip up is murder. And after 72 holes, he would have no touch in his hand. He planned to hit a low, screaming iron shot. He practiced that shot the week before as an alternative to the high fade that he would need to get back to this position. He played a shot that would land about there and leave it to two putts. It was not a last-second decision, which is what's commonly thought. He had fully known that he had two options for shots. They would depend on whether he was still in the running and whether he needed to par the last hole or birdie the last hole to either win or tie. And he needed to birdie to win, par to tie, so he decided he was going to play safe because he didn't like the possibilities of hitting what he called his Sky 4, which is a 4-wood that just took a nice little fade at the top, which he said at the time he was not hitting well. So he hit the low driving iron, and he assessed that from the position he was in to hit it, it was the 1 iron that he needed. Had he the next day he hit a 5 iron, and earlier in the day he also hit a 5 iron. But in the afternoon, when he knew he had to be on the fairway, he took something off his drive and left it to chance. And this time, he was not the dogged victim of inexorable fate, as Jones was. This time, fate smiled on him. He was on the green, made his putts, and the next day just had a fabulous round, under par 69.